Hi, my name is Jassy Janjua, and this is my Geology 105 Natural Disaster Preparation Project presentation. This is take two. My first one was 15 minutes long, so let's see if I can make this a little bit faster. So the disaster that I'm choosing is earthquakes and tsunamis. So why are these things a threat to me? I live in Abbotsford, BC, Lower Mainland, Southwestern BC. So the largest earthquakes in the world have happened in BC. And Southwest BC is one of the most seismically active places in all of Canada. Just in the last year alone, there have been 45 earthquakes that have been above the 1.5 on the Richter scale, and it happens and we don't even know that it happens, which is very scary. So why these earthquakes are happening is an interaction between the Jean de Fuca plate and the huge North American plate, and we'll further discuss this in a little bit. So what happens when an earthquake hits? So the earth starts shaking, as we all know, the accelerated ground movement. Earth liquefaction can happen, which creates the soil to become water soluble and makes the land work as quicksand almost. Tsunamis, landslides, dam failures, and fires are all a threat. So how do earthquakes occur? So earthquakes occur, basically the rundown is, on top of the Earth's crust on the lithosphere, there are a bunch of moving plates called the tectonic plates. And when these plates interact, there can be some actions that happen. So basically, there are three different types of plate boundaries. And when these interact, there is stress buildup. And once the stress buildup reaches a breaking point, the energy is released and things like earthquakes happen. So there's a few different types of plate boundaries. There's three types. So the divergent, when plates move away from each other, transform when they move side by side, rubbing action. And then there's convergent plates, which would be what we need to talk about. And that's when two crash into each other. They can crash into each other and create mountains, which would be a continental plate, or the interaction between an oceanic, like the Jean de Fuca plate, and the continental plate, like the North American one. So what happens is when they come together, the Jean de Fuca plate subducts, which means it goes under because it's less dense than the continental plate. Oceanic plates are less dense, goes under, magma comes up as mountains and volcanoes. And what this is called is, in our case, is the Cascadia subduction zone. And this is a 1,000-kilometer stretch that from all the way from the top of California all the way to the top of Vancouver Island. And like we said, subduction causing all of the action. So tsunamis are definitely a threat. They're a huge threat. But the thing is, Abbotsford is a little bit too inland, a little bit too high in elevation to where a threat that hits the coast would be a true threat to us. But definitely for cities such as Vancouver along the coast, this is a huge threat. So how does the government prepare? So the government prepares, let's take Vancouver for an example, because they are in threat of earthquakes and they do a great job. For example, to mitigate for buildings, there's been a new revised national building code, right? And old buildings get new renovation for more resilient materials, and new buildings are also built with this higher standard. Infrastructure is made more resilient, such as bridges. In the last 10 years, $20 million has been spent just on bridges alone. But think about if you're crossing Lions Gate Bridge and an earthquake happens, it's money well spent. Water sewage systems are in place so that water is always accessible and for firefighting. Energy systems such as backup systems in key facilities and neighborhood emergency preparation workshops are free in Vancouver. So there are some response plans in BC, such as a BC Earthquake Immediate Response Operation, which gets people evacuated and basically has the city just organized on how we should help people. And there's also things such as emergency support services, which can deliver food, lodging, clothing, emotional support in this crisis, and it can help you up to 72 hours. So what should I do when an earthquake hits. So if I'm at home and an earthquake hits, I would run over there, run towards my heavy desk, get under it, hold on, and count to at least 60, or at least until the shaking stops. So that's what we've learned in school, right? We drop to the floor, stay clear of any windows, get under a sturdy piece of furniture, cover your head and neck, and count until 60. If I was in an outside building, this would stay the same, such as UFV or in a grocery store. I would again drop low, and I would scan the area to see if there are any places that I can go hide. But I should also be aware of the big windows, and also any huge items or anything that could topple over, such as in the library, bookshelves, or in the grocery store, huge aisles. And if I was on the street, I would have to, like if I was on a walk, I would have to avoid buildings, power lines, trees, signs, and vehicles, because these could all be fatal, and I would need to get to a clear area. But luckily I'm near a lot of parks here, and within walking distance, I should be able to get to a clear area. So what should my preparation plan look like? So I have large bookcases in my living room right here, and there are some large shelves that are in my storage area that I could secure down with L brackets and get them onto the wall stud. And the only large appliance in my apartment is a fridge, and I would be able to take that out, strap it down, strap it to the wall. And for these two examples, why it's important is, even if it's gonna fall over still, at least it'll give me a couple seconds to get out of the way, which could save my life, really. And I have no access to water tanks, gas valves, or any electrical boards, so that's not something that I can really think about. So what's my emergency plan? So my emergency plan would incorporate an emergency home kit, go bag, things like fire extinguishers, and a plan. So where would I meet with my people that's close to home? Everybody must meet outside the sidewalk in front of my apartment building if we don't know where each other are. So things that would be in my emergency kit. So let's talk about this. So my home kit would be in a big plastic container that I would just buy from Walmart, and I'll just list off some of the things that there should be in there. So there should be enough stuff to keep you alive for at least 3 days, but a week would be more ideal. So 4 liters of water per person. So I have 3 people in my family, which would be 36 liters of water. Non-perishable foods like dehydrated meals, canned goods, packable cups, utensils, all that stuff. I like to go camping, so I have all of this stuff already, so it's quite nice. Any type of toiletries, a battery bank, extra blankets and jackets for colder months, extra cash just in case, handheld radios, flashlights, first aid kits, a big jerry can full of fuel in the trunk of my car, and a blowhorn just in case I need to get somebody's attention in an emergency situation. So let's talk about, and this would be located in the closet that is right beside my front door. And let's talk about go bags. There are going to be 3 backpacks for each person of the house, and these will also be in that same closet near the front door for easy access. So to list off what would be in there: a medical kit with bandages, kit to sterilize a stitch and stitch a wound up, food and water, a few dehydrated meals or energy bars, at least 2 bottles of water that are pre-filled, flashlights and batteries, hand crank radios, at least 1 in one of our bags, a battery bank, toiletries, survival blankets, the thicker ones that don't rip if you use them once, extra clothing, at least 1 pair of lightweight jacket and a pair of sweatpants, a road map of Abbotsford, a lightweight sleeping jacket, a lightweight sleeping bag. So a lightweight one I say because it won't take up as much space in your pack. Duct tape because it fixes everything. Water filtration system because you don't know what's going to happen with the sewage, with the water system. So you need to have something like iodine tablets that you can sterilize your own water. And you should have some sort of fire starting system. Lighter, waterproof matches, some tinder. I find that steel wood also works as a great tinder. It holds a flame very well. And so let's talk about the water, because the water to me would be the most important. It needs to be in plastic water bottles, because if it's glass water bottles, it might just break in the disaster. So this has been my presentation for my natural disaster. which is earthquakes. And I will go over a quick summary right now. So earthquakes pose a serious threat to all of BC, and tsunamis are a threat to the coast, but not as much Abbotsford. The Cascadia subduction zone is what caused most of our earthquakes. Government has put mass effort into assessment of risks and reinforcing cities to become more disaster resilient. Having an emergency plan can be crucial. You don't need it until you really need it. That's the truth. And it is important to create pre-made kits to help you survive when disaster strikes. That has been my time. Thank you.